How are you doing, guys? Luke here of SimBoxx, and welcome along to this week's episode of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast, episode 16. Joined as always by my esteemed co-host, Jamie Ryan. Jamie, how are we doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Fantastic, feeling it. Glad to be on a roll as well. Not missed a week. Throwing these podcasts out at the moment, aren't we?
Absolutely. And for the third or fourth time in a row, we've joined with a special guest. And this week is a good friend of mine, a good friend of the channels from way back when, Mr. Carl Greaves. Carl, how are we doing?
I'm good. I'm good, lads. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for your time. Before we get into the bits and bats and everything that we've got to chat about today, I want to mention it looks like we're on an imminent announcement, get my words out, of Daniel Dubois challenging Fabio Wardley for the WBO Heavyweight World Title. This has been rumoured on social media today, and it seems to be gathering fire that it's going to be May 9th in Manchester, is the rumoured date. Carl, I'll chuck it over to you first, man. Would you make of Wardley's first title defence being against Daniel Dubois?
Yeah, very, very interesting fight. I mean, Wardley's shocking us all the time, isn't he? I mean, he's come from nowhere, five white collar fights. Nobody's gave him a chance really in most of his big fights, but he's always come through and he's what I mean, defying the odds every time. So you can't write him off again against Dubois. I mean, we know Dubois has got the power, but so has Wardley. It's an interesting fight. It's southpaw. He's awkward. He can bang himself. There's always been question marks about Dubois' art. So, yeah, it's a really interesting fight. I mean, it's a good pick and one. I mean, you'd have to favour Dubois again because, I mean, he punches so hard and he's been at I'll say he's been at an higher level. I mean, obviously, Wardley's world champion. So, like I say, you can't write him off. But it's a great fight and a very intriguing one.
Absolutely, Jamie. If this lands in our neck of the woods up here in Manchester, it'll be certainly one we'll be looking at attending. It's a really, really good fight, a fan-friendly fight, and one that we can safely say it's an old boxing cliche. But when we say it won't go 12 rounds, surely this doesn't go 12 rounds.
Oh, definitely won't go 12 rounds. And it's like Carl just touched on, it is a bit of a pick and fight. I think Dubois does go in as the favourite again, which is crazy. It's crazy to think that, he's going to go in as a favourite again against Wardley, who just keeps defying the odds. But I think as a first title defence, I think it's actually a good fight for Wardley because, there is question marks over Dubois' heart, but not just that. Dubois is there to be hit, and we've seen him be hit quite a considerable amount of times in a lot of his previous fights. AJ had him stung at one point. Going back before that, Hrgovic had him hurt. Was landing at will at the time, Hrgovic. Joyce peppered his head off with a jab. So, and we know that Wardley's got that one shot power, so it could. Oh, I don't know. It is a really good pick and fight, and it's one that we've got to look forward to. And it's someone's going down, and someone's going down hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do look forward to it. Carl, I want to pick your brains a little bit about the business side of things. You promoter, manager, trainer, ex-pro yourself. Talk to me a little bit about how does it work with Daniel Dubois coming off that loss to Alexander Usyk in the second fight at Wembley last year when he was knocked out in 5 rounds and walking straight into a WBO voluntary defence for Fabio Wardley. How does the business work behind that? I thought does he not have to have a winning record to challenge for a world title?
Yeah, they always say they have to be coming off a win to be fighting for a title, but you know what, at that level, I mean, obviously they know that Dubois is capable. With it being a voluntary, I mean, I don't know if is it WBO? I think they're
Yeah.
different rules. I don't know. Each organisation's got different rules. I know in certain organisations you need to be coming off wins to be off a win at least to be fighting for a title. But like you say, the WBO might have their own rules, and obviously look at Dubois as a worthy contender to challenge for their world title. So, yeah, I mean, obviously his losses have come at a very, very high level. So, you know what I mean? You've got to give him a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, interestingly enough, Alexander Usyk, he's beat Dubois twice, he's beat Fury twice, he's beat Joshua twice, undisputed 2 times at heavyweight, 1 time at cruiserweight. He was looking to chase that fight with Wilder. Someone saying he was looking for the exposure out in the States and that he wants to crack America and get the real big paydays before his career's done. But weirdly enough, Alexander Usyk now seems to be the man out in the cold. Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora have signed to fight. Fabio Wardley looks to be fighting Daniel Dubois. We've got the return of Tyson Fury on Netflix against Aslanbek Makhmudov. it's quite strange to say that the unified heavyweight world champion, two-time undisputed, is out in the cold and has not really got an avenue to go down. What do you make of Usyk's situation at the minute, Carl?
Yeah, it's strange. It's right what you're saying, and it's very, very strange. But I think they know he can just sit back and wait, and if he fights again, he fights again. If he don't, he don't. He probably won't be bothered, to be honest with you. I mean, he's the best in it. Let's be honest. I mean, like you say, he's beat everybody who he's been put in front of him. You know what I mean? He's got nothing more to prove, and he's probably just sitting back and letting them just all fight it out. And if any of them want to fight him, he'll take it. But I don't think he's any rush to box. I mean, he's a very clever man. Got a lot going on outside of boxing, obviously with the situation in Ukraine and that. So I would have thought that he's not too bothered. But yeah, I mean, you'd have thought, obviously, with all these others fighting against each other, that he'd be chomping at the bit to get in there. But like you say, he don't need to.
Yeah, he's certainly in a really good position. Jamie, I'll chuck it to you. Does this open the door for somebody like an Ajit Kabayel as WBC interim champion? I think he is, and you've got Lawrence Okoli in the WBC rankings. They're both looking for fights. We know Ajit Kabayel's just had a hugely successful homecoming in Germany when he knocked out David Niebuhr in 3 rounds. It was a raucous crowd. Does this open the door for maybe Usyk to travel over to Germany? It'll be a huge fight in Germany if he was to take on Ajit Kabayel. Does it open the door for the big German to finally get his opportunity at a world title?
But I think it opens the door, but whether they're able to walk through the door is going to be another set of obstacles, because I think Carl's right in the sense of he can just sit back and wait to see how it plans out. But I also think, with your point about him wanting to crack the States and getting a few more big paydays, what other big paydays are there going to be for Usyk, unless it's against, you know, a winner of a Dubois Wardley, you know, someone of that caliber, or winner of Fury and Makhmudov when that eventually happens. So I think he's earned the right to just sit around and maybe wait for one of them and cash in on one more big last fight, and that's probably why he was chasing Wilder. I just think, as big as it would be in Germany, him and Caballal, I don't think it would generate the same revenue, and he would get paid anywhere near the same that he's got recently, even fighting Dubois. So I think a lot of it comes down to where's the money going to be for Usyk, because he don't really have to fight for anything else now, really, than money.
Absolutely. We wait to see what's next for the great Ukraine. We'll move on. This past weekend, the UK lost a world champion in Nick Ball. He was defeated by Brandon Figueroa in explosive fashion. A week after, we gained another world champion in Josh Kelly. We'll move on to that Liverpool card a little bit later on. But another fighter that might add to the roster of world champions here in the UK is Emma Dolan when she challenges for the IBF Super Flyweight World Title on the 5th of April. She takes on Irma Garcia, a very experienced operator. Carl, your charge, very confident, and firstly, very relieved to finally get this opportunity at that world title.
Yeah, it's she was mandatory challenger, so obviously we knew it was going to happen, but it was when. There was a lot going on behind the scenes. We saw that Shannon Ryan, who Emma beat, was creeping up in the rankings. She was becoming to number 2. Then I saw that Eddie had made a match for her against Chloe Watson for the IBF Intercontinental. So I could see what was happening. Eddie was trying to get her in front of Emma. But what Eddie didn't realise was I had already got Emma number 1, and I already knew that she was going to get made. The fight was going to get made and announced and put out to purse bids. Obviously, me being a small old promoter, I mean, obviously I manage and train Emma, but I also promoted her in the past. I know she's been on GBM shows. I was in a bit of an awkward position when it got put out to bids, because I needed a big promoter to back me. Unfortunately, I was ringing around, spoke to all the big promoters. As you know, the situation in Britain isn't great with female fighters. I mean, Eddie's not really interested so much now. Frank Warren's definitely not interested so much. Izzy never had his dates for GBM, so I was in a right position. Spoke to Sar Willens, they never had the dates to give me. So I had no choice but to put a bid in myself. It was crazy. I mean, the small old promoter bidding for a world title fight with no TV. I mean, not many people know this. I've not really told many people. Obviously, people close to me know what went on. So obviously, I had to register as an IBF promoter. I had to put a participation fee down of $1,000, which you don't get back. The did all wired over my percentage, my 10% of the bid. Was praying that somebody was going to come in on it and help me out, and not help me out, but win the bid. I mean, obviously, when you bid, you like to win it yourself, but I was only bidding just so I didn't lose the fight, because if I didn't bid, then Emma would have lost her position and they would have gone down to the next contender, which was Shannon Ryan. And we all know that Eddie had the money there to bid for it and win the bid. So it was an horrible one for me, really. Although, like I say, this is how much my fighters mean to me. I was prepared to back her. I was prepared to put the show on if I won the bid. And you're not talking about just winning the bid. You've got your sanction fees, you've got your judges, your ref, you've got your supervisor, you've got your flights from Mexico, hotels, food. It was an absolute fortune, and I would have probably blown my brains. But look, behold, I sat down when the bids was announced, put the Zoom call on with the IBF. It was crazy. The first person I saw was Mark Leonardi from MVP with his cap on, and I was thinking, I've cracked it here. He's going to beat me on this bid. So, so we announced the bids, and MVP won it. They wanted to do something with Emma previously, but same again. I was in talks with them. They never had the dates. Obviously, we know how long this has been going on with them getting the Sky deal and it all announced. So it's been going on for weeks and weeks. But finally, they won the bids, and great news that they're going to put it on this massive card, April the 5th at the Olympia, London, on an all-female card. That's obviously the top of the bills. The live fight's going to be all-female. I'm under the understanding they're going to have a few male fights lower on down in the card, early doors, but the main card is going to be all female. And what a great card to be on! We're absolutely buzzing. So really, it couldn't have gone any better. Like I say, I'm so pleased I lost the bid. I know it sounds crazy because everybody wants to win a bid, but it would have been very, very difficult for me. And Emma can't thank me enough for backing her. And like I say, I was prepared to go all the way with her. And I'm just so pleased that we've got an IBF world title fight. I mean, IBF, we're not talking about an IBO or a WBF, you're talking a major league title. You know what I mean? So if she wins this, she's in the big league, and hopefully we can get unifications and big paydays. And what a great platform to be on. Sky Sports, MVP, on an Easter Sunday. Well, it's going to be absolutely rocking. And I know that it's gone out today on pre-sale, and I think it's gone really well.
Absolutely, Jamie. We could wrap the pod there, man. That Carl sold us everything we needed to know there. That's some going, that Carl. And you know what? This is what we like to bring on the Let's Stop Boxing podcast. Real boxing talk, and
I mean, this is an
get the business
inclusive,
side of
mate.
things
This
there,
is
and
an
get the understanding.
inclusive,
It's amazing.
definitely, mate. I mean, you're the only person I've told in the game that this has happened. There's a few that know, but I mean, it's you've got it, an inclusive, mate. So
Exclusive there.
inclusive. Keep saying inclusive, exclusive.
So,
Yeah.
Jamie,
Well, I think that's a
Too
testament,
many
though.
punches, Jamie.
Just listening to you there talk about obviously what you were willing to do to make sure Emma got that world title shot. I think that speaks, volumes for yourself, and I think that speaks volumes for Emma's ability as well. Where people can actually see, how much the belief you've got in her to know she can become a world champion, and not just that, a unification champion. You're willing to put everything on the line to make sure she got that, and I think. You don't see that a lot in boxing, especially maybe with the bigger promoters. You don't seem, even though on the cameras it looks like that, you don't seem to get them type of personal relationships and personal beliefs.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, I mean, I would have been absolutely gutted if this didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like I say, I was prepared to go all the way with her. I mean, she sacrificed so much. I mean, she was living in Norwich. three and a half years ago, 4 years ago, and she travelled over to the Commonwealth Games to watch them, and she sent me a message on Twitter. I didn't even know we were friends, to be honest. A private message saying any chance that I can come and do some training. Well, I thought she just wanted to use the gym. She'd been to a few other trainers. She'd been to Peter Fury, Joe Gallagher, Shane McGuigan, and I didn't know this at the time. And we had a session. She really enjoyed it. She says, "Can I come back again?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." We really gelled, and then she asked me if I'd be a trainer, and I said it's going to be a bit difficult with you living in Norwich. She says, "Oh no, I'm serious. I want to move to Newark, and I want you to train me and manage me," and that's how it all happened, really. And for a girl to be prepared to do that, that means so much to me. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm willing to back her and willing to take it all the way. And let's hope on April the Fish becomes champion of the world and story.
Absolutely. It's a great story.
Yeah, fantastic.
I just want to jump on a little bit there, Carl, with we seem to have a bit of a golden era of female boxing in the UK. Not so long ago, we had Katie Taylor flying the flag, obviously Irish, Natasha Jonas, Chantel Cameron coming through. We had all these big fights, these female world champions. Eddie was broadcasting shows on Sky Sports, and then it seemed to somewhat fall off a cliff. It's not carried over onto the zone, and like you say, Frank's never really been interested. Then we had the all-female card from Boxer, headlined by Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall. Fantastic event, but he seems to have fell off a cliff. And I dare say, without MVP coming in and picking up all this great female talent, putting on shows like this, putting on shows like the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano trilogy on Netflix with some great female fights on that card, it was almost staring into the abyss at one point, wasn't it? Without MVP coming in and saving the day almost.
Yeah, like I listened to Nikisa's interview, and the clever people, they saw a little gap there, a little gap in the market for all female card. Obviously, they know that. I mean, I know boxers still doing female fights, but they haven't really got the stable. Obviously, with MVP coming in and signing all the talent, it just made sense for Sky to work with them and for Sky to put on this card, and they've got them all, haven't they? I mean, they're doing a unification with Dubois and Harper. They're both signed to MVP. I mean, I'm pretty sure that whoever loses that, they will bring back. But they've got all the females, haven't they? I mean, we're not actually signed to MVP. They won the bid. I'm pretty sure if Emma puts on a good display, wins the world title, that they will sign her. There was talks of them signing her, but I think, like they said to me, that they wanted to sign her. We'd basically done the deal, and then same again. They never had the dates, and they didn't want to promise us anything. So that's why it got this far. But finally, we've got it over the line. And like I say, what you know what I mean? What a great chance! What a great opportunity live on Sky Sports. It'd be in front of millions on a massive card, and an MVP. I'm pretty sure will do a great production, and it'd be a fantastic night.
Definitely some weekend that as well, isn't it? Without going off on too much of a tangent, but we got that card on the Sunday. The Saturday night is Chisora Wilder. We got Lauren
Yeah.
Price for Boxer as well. It's a huge weekend of action. I think there's rumours of Pat Brown going on Friday night in Manchester as well. So that's some weekend of sport on the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I think is it the heavyweight one, Chisora and Wilder, that's in London as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
So I presume that a lot of people
There you
will
go too, yeah.
stay over and watch both.
yeah, great weekend. Talk to me a little bit about Irma Garcia, the opponent, come April. 31 fight record. She's been a pro for a hell of a long time. I think she's 44 years of age, so vastly
Yeah.
experienced, much more experienced than Emma in the pros. Fully aware of what you're coming up against and the dangers the champion poses on the night.
Yeah, she's a good fighter. No doubt about it. I've been watching quite a lot of her lately. Obviously, since the fight's been announced. I mean, a lot of the fights are going back years ago. She's been on some big cards. She was involved with Canelo. I think she beat one of his girls, and then Canelo ended up getting options on her and promoting her for a while. And I think she's won. I don't think she's just won the IBF. I think she won the WBA, WBC. She's been a champion in a few of the categories. So yeah, it's a dangerous fight. It's an hard fight, but like I say, I believe in Emma. I mean, style wise, I think Emma's got she's all made. She's tailor made for Emma. Really, she'll come on to Emma, and Emma's long. She can bang. You know what I mean? We've been calling her skinny power in the gym because she's just skinny, but she can half wallet with that right hand. As you've seen with Shannon Wright, she took her off her feet. So yeah, we're confident, but it's not going to be an easy fight. Emma's going to have to bite down on that gumshoe. It's going to be an hard night's work. 44 years old or not, I mean, she's still in great condition. She's still, I mean, age is just a number to some people, and I think that's the case with Irma Garcia. So we're not underestimating it. We know it's going to be an hard night's work, but we're going to be fully prepared for it. We're in camp now in the second week. Although Emma's always ticking over, we've really knuckled down like last week. So yeah, it's going to be an hard night, but I'm quietly confident we're going to get the victory.
Yeah, we do really look forward to that busy night of action. It's going to put out an early warning there that we might have a missing person case for Jamie come that bank holiday weekend. There's so much sporting action going on that we'll have to put
Oh.
a missing person case for him.
Well, I might just go to London for the weekend by the sounds of it, because I'm planning on Wilder Chisora, so I might do what Carl said, stay over and watch the all female card as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
great weekend. A couple of weekends before that, Carl, your other charge, one of many charges, of course, but Levi Giles, he goes in against Giorgio Vizioli, one of the highly touted Matchroom prospects on the 21st of March. I think I'm right in saying it's a great little card that Matchroom have put together there, but a big opportunity for your man against, as I say, one of the highly touted prospects in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, he's highly regarded into Vizioli. Everyone's raving about him, saying he's the next best thing. Levi stepping up to lightweight for the first time. He feels that he was losing a bit of strength from power at super featherweight, so he just feels like he's going to be a lot stronger at lightweight. And Levi's way more experienced. I mean, he left it late with Bellotti. He could have won that fight. Last round, he had Bellotti out on his feet. Just didn't do enough in the rounds before. And finally, when he did open up, he had Bellotti in all sorts of trouble. So, yeah, I mean, he's experienced now, Levi. I mean, he knows the distance well. Vizioli had an hard, tough fight last time to win the English title. So that will put him in good stead. But yeah, another one that you can't write Levi off. I mean, I know he's winning the Lions Den, he's going up against a matchroom fighter, but I mean, mainly as a trainer, my record against matchroom fighters is in the away corner. He's been outstanding over the years. Obviously, I don't train Levi, but you know what I mean? We're quietly confident again. I mean, he's got a good team around him. Matty Teague's a good trainer, and Andy Blackett and the lads. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'll not be there that night because I've got my own show in Newark. I've got Tom Pogson having a rematch with Craig Nelson for the Midlands area title at Newark Showground. That's going to be a great fight as well. So, yeah, it's a shame I can't be there now. The dates have been changed because originally it was the 7th of March and now it's on the 21st. Yes, it's on a big card at the Copper Box, and like you say, Lidard and Sains, and what great talents and what a great card to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just speaking of Giorgio Vizioli, Jamie, like I say, a highly talented prospect coming through. This is the kind of fight that we need to see for these guys, isn't it? We see, Levi's much more than just a stepping stone. He's only been beat by Michael Gomez in a split decision, Reece Bellotti in a very, very competitive fight. But these are the kind of fights we want to see our prospects in.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Obviously, there's a element of you want to build them up at the start. You need to get them used to the pro ranks, and I understand that. But then there's got to be a time where they have these hard fights, and this is not going to be an easy night's work for Giorgio at all. And I think some people might think that, but if you know boxing and you've watched boxing and you understand it a bit more deeper level, Levi is going to be dangerous on the night. And in all honesty, I'm not just saying it because Carl's on the podcast, but it's a very winnable fight for Levi, and it could be a huge banana skin for Giorgio. As talented as he looks, there is chinks in that armor, and it's fights like this that will either expose him or he'll go on and push on and show that he's actually got more to his game than what we're seeing at the moment. But it's an interesting one, and it's good to see that we're getting these types of matchups rather than him going in with somebody with a losing record, and it's just I don't know what stat padding, as they say.
Absolutely. Carl, you promote your own small hall shows, as you say, very successful small hall promoter, and you manage a stable, you train a stable. Is there a pressure on these bigger promoters now, your Eddie Hearns of the world, your Frank Warrens of the world, your Ben Shaloms of the world, that these fights have got to start becoming competitive when it's getting to the big TV shows, that there's too many fingers in the pie, if you like, there's too many shows, there's too much competition that you can't get away with one-sided fights anymore. That there's a real pressure for the big-time promoters to be competitive with their prospects as early as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I will give Eddie his due. He does put his fighters in proper fights. You know what I mean? Not straight away, but he does put them in proper fights earlier than what Frank does. I mean, you look at Frank's cards, and with all due respect, early on in the cards, they're just all one-sided. I mean, you look at the weight difference on the night. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I looked the other night, and Brad Strand's opponent, I mean, I think he was £5 lighter on the scales the day before, but in the ring on the night, it looked like three weight divisions apart, and it's just not good to see. Um, but yeah, I will give Eddie his due. He is putting more competitive fights on. Frank's good at what he does, though. He's good at what he's done. He's good at bringing them through. But Eddie puts him in deeper a bit earlier, I think, to test him. I mean, obviously, I had a great win the other week when Tom Carlin um, he beat Aaron Bowen. I mean, it was a 7-1 underdog. No one gave him a chance.
Great
Went
fight.
out there. It was a bigger fight than a Midlands area title fight. Great fight. Ended up chief support to Ben Whitty because of the amount of tickets they did. And they were sick as a pig, I'll be honest with you, because my lad just upset the apple cart big time. No one expected it, apart from me and a small little team around me. We know how good Tom is. Um, but yeah, like you say, obviously I'm obviously going off the track a bit. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely pressure on these big promoters to deliver better cards because when they're on TV, the old world, there's more eyes on it. I mean, we can get away with it on smaller cards, but I don't want mismatches on my card. You know what I mean? I want to. Obviously, you've got a kid who's done 200 tickets. You don't want to get him beat, but in the same breath, when he's 10-0, you want to test him a bit. And if he does get beat, then he's just not good enough. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But yeah, you've got to start being more competitive. That is for a fact because the world's changing. The money's harder to come by now. People don't want to go and see one-sided 60-54s or one-round blowouts. They want to see hard-earned money spent while I'm going to see competitive cards.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better myself. One thing that I was going to bring up, I didn't actually put it down in my notes, but just something I've been thinking of asking. Myself and Jamie, we was, really good friends, and worked alongside Kieran Farrell up here in the Northwest, and he's put on a lot of good small hall shows, Black Flash promotions up here as well. A lot has been made of Riyadh season, the influx of money from Turkey Al Sheikh, putting on these huge events. Some people are saying it's killing British boxing down at the small hall scene, the grassroots scene. Others are saying the influx of money is getting more attention on boxing as a whole, and therefore it's helping the sport altogether. I'll put it to you first, Carl. From your position as a promoter, are you feeling the benefits of Riyadh season, Turkey Al Sheikh, the bigger shows, the bigger cards? Is it filtering all the way down to grassroots?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's not really affecting me. I do my thing. You know what I mean? I've promoted 169 shows since 2007. I'm one of the busiest promoters, if not the busiest in the country. I've slowed down a bit. I'm not training as many fighters now. I'm not putting as many shows on. But I'm still doing well at what I'm doing. But yeah, it's not really affecting me. I mean, it's like this. You look at it like this. There's only so far me or any smaller promoter can take a fighter. You get him as high as probably a British title fight, then even putting one of them on, it's very, very cost effective. You're probably going to lose a load of money. So, I mean, I've only ever promoted one British title fight. It was when Sam Bowen beat Max Hughes. Luckily, I got a bit of sponsorship on it. Turned out a very good night. But after that, there was nowhere I could take Sam. So the big promoters always know that the smaller promoters are going to do all the graft, all the hard work, and they're going to end up with these kids anyway. You know what I mean? And then obviously you got Turkey Al Sheikh coming in and taking them off Frank and Eddie and putting bigger shows on. It's just crazy. It's like a roller coaster. But listen, it's all great for boxing. It's all great for boxing, and boxing's thriving, in my opinion. Look at all the TV channels now, all the streaming, all the people involved in boxing, all the, you know what I mean, all the channels involved now. It's never been in a better place, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, you're one to have your ear to the ground. You know the grassroots scene up here in the Northwest. From your experiences, your opinions, is it a good thing for British boxing having this influx of the big money?
It it's a tough one really because I think when you're able to throw the money about that Turkey's got and people get used to that, it can make it a bit harder for the people coming through. They're going to want more money and so on and so on. But at the same time, Carl's spot on with the fact that boxing is thriving at the moment. There's so many different channels that you can watch it on. You know, the BBC have got back involved with free to air boxing as well. So that's only gonna help. But I think in terms of the smaller shows, I think they'll just continue to sort of do what they're doing at the moment, and that's, you know, no disrespect to any small promoters. It's the livelihood of the sport, really. They do build up fighters, like Carl said, to a certain level where that's British title level, and they may have to go on to a bigger promoter or not. But I think it will still be around how it is, because I think with the smaller shows, local powers is such a big thing. Like when we go to the ones around here, you know, a lot of them are more or less a sellout, aren't they? And a lot of that comes down to, you know, local fighters and their friends and their families, and that plays a big part as well in what small or shows bring. So I think they'll be all right, and I think they'll stick. It'll just continue as it currently is, but with a few more eyeballs.
Interesting, interesting. Carl, just before I let you go, there's a couple of things that I want to pick your brains on. David Avanesian, we've seen that he returned at the back end of the year. He's been in some big fights recently with Crawford and Jaron Boots Ennis. Still life in the tough old dog yet in David Avanesian?
Yeah, I mean, he trains every day. I mean, he's just a grafter. You know what I mean? Loves to train, lives a good life. Done very, very well out of boxing. Um, but unfortunately, he's in the Uni Zim club. I know his manager Neil Marsh is doing his very, very best to get him a fight, but basically is too dangerous. You know what I mean? He's not quite good enough for the elite, as he's shown obviously against Crawford and Boot Ennis, but that little level down from there is a dangerous fighter still. I mean, he's what is he, 37 now, 38, and just people weren't given that opportunity and that chance. So, but like I say, he's training all the time and he's ready. I mean, he won't need a lot of big notice. He was actually chief sparring partner for Dalton Smith for his world title fight. And when I saw Dalton's opponent, when I saw that fight, I thought, you know what? Dalton played it smart there. He picked David for spot, absolutely perfect style wise. David gave him great work, and obviously Dalton's dad Grant couldn't thank us enough. So it turned out great for Dalton. But yeah, obviously it's frustrating for David because I mean now Josh Kelly's world champion and David absolutely destroyed him. I know that obviously Josh had his excuses like they all do, but on the night, you know, in that ring, David took him apart. But he just hasn't quite. He's been a world champion, but obviously when he's fought for the world title at the high level, he's come up against the best in obviously Crawford and Boot Ennis again. So frustrating, but yeah, he's there. He's ready for the phone to ring, and he's there for a big fight. But whether it'll happen or not, I don't know.
You know one name that I chuck out there, and I'm sure Jamie will agree with me. I always thought David Evanesian was the perfect opponent for Conor Benn. I know you say they're very dangerous, but Conor Benn has jumped
Yeah,
up these levels. Like we say, he's surpassed British level, surpassed European level. David Evanesian, a former European champion that defended that title numerous times. I always thought that was the most sensible fight to make, and maybe it is an element of risk versus reward, but if you're looking at getting into that world scene, David Evanesian, you
yeah,
know, not quite a gatekeeper. I wouldn't disrespect him in that way, but
yeah,
certainly, as you say,
definitely,
that
definitely,
that
yeah.
level down from the very elite, David
Mm,
Evanesian's right there.
mm.
Jamie, you'd take that fight in a heartbeat, wouldn't you, Conor Benn and David Evanesian?
Yeah, yeah. I think
What a
and I think it
fight!
would cause he would cause Conor Ben problems as well. But because the thing with Conor Ben, apart from fighting Chris Eubank, he's not really been in anyone of that caliber of David. So, and like you said, he skipped British level, he skipped European level, but he's never fought anyone of that ilk. Apart from obviously Chris Eubank, but he had his issues as well. So we don't really know how good Conor Benn could be, and that's a perfect fight to see, how good he is, and or if he is, going to be able to fight them elite level fighters, because like you said, David's just that level just below. And it's a shame, really, because I'm a big fan of David. I think he's a great fighter. And it is a shame that people will look at him and he's kind of, in a way, been punished for taking Josh Kelly apart. Because I feel like the British promoters, especially, are more wary of putting their fighters on the up and coming in with him because of the danger that he does possess. And I think that it's boxing politics. It kind of upsets me and ruins my love for the sport sometimes, because David should be in big fights and he's not getting them on the basis of, like you said, to risk a little reward. And that's the frustrating part of boxing for me. As much as I love the sport, but it's something that obviously we can't change, unfortunately, ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl, just one that I've thought of sitting here, and if this fight ever comes to fruition, I want my 10%. How about Echo Assuming? He's coming off that loss to Jack Cattrall. David Evanesian not in
Yeah.
a big fight. I think that could be a cracking fight at some point in 2026.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, to be fair, they are good mates. Have done hundreds of rounds together, and I'm really good friends with obviously Echo and his trainer Danny, and
Great guys.
awkward one. But business is business, I suppose, and it has been talked about in the past. But like you say, I mean, yeah, I mean they're both similar age, both similar. It would be a great fight, but the one I think is really good fight and would be an absolute barnstormer and a war would be David against Conor Walker. I think what a
Woo!
fight. What a
Oh,
fight. Yeah, I mean,
that's
I
why
think
he's a
David would.
promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I have to feel for Neil really, David Mage, because he basically had the Patterson fight. Not Patterson. Who did who did he beat? Conor Walker. Um,
Pat McCormack.
Pat McCormack.
Pat
Pat
McCormack.
McCormack. He basically had that fight. You know what I mean? Locked in. But obviously, Pat McCormack gets beat, so obviously it's pushed David down again. But and obviously then Connor was trying to get
Crocker
the
fight.
Crocker fight, and obviously that's not come apart and happened. And I did actually see it on the Twitter today. Is it Five Club or something? Did tweet and post that what a great fight Avanesian and Connor Walker would be. But it's an high risk fight for Connor again, isn't it? I mean, probably going to think the same. Why would I want to take that risk? With obviously no reward, really. Well, there is a reward in beating David, but obviously there's nothing on the table for him, really. He's already the champion. So I don't know. I don't know.
That's
It's
how
an hard
boxing can
one.
be a funny world, because I remember
Yeah,
around the time David Evanesian was getting the wins over Josh Kelly, and around that time Conor Walker was losing on a Wasserman show against
unbelievable.
Kane Gardner, and look how his
Yeah,
career's turned around. It's a great story for Conor
yeah.
Walker,
I mean,
but back then
I love
been the
Connor
other
to
way around.
bits. Yeah, I love Connor to bits. Great fighter, great lad. Known him a long time. Dave's done a lot of rounds with him as well. Great sparring. It would be an but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Davey's knocking on a bit now. They might be waiting until he's even older and try and get him at the right time. But we'll see. Like I say, the good thing is David's always in the gym, always training. So yeah,
Yeah, we'll look forward to see what's next for David, and you can take our word for it here, Carl, that we're banging the drum here. We're at the front and centre of the David Evanesian fan club, me and Jamie, so we'll be banging the drum for it. Before
yeah,
I let you go, proud Nottingham man yourself, and big time boxing returns to Nottingham with Matchroom on the zone with Lee Wood against Josh Warrington, part two. Explosive ending to the first fight. You excited for this one with Lee Wood going in against Josh Warrington again?
yeah. Good friends with Lee. Great lad. Great fighter. Had an unbelievable career. I mean, you got to remember he lost to Gavin McDonald all them years ago, and look what he stuck. He stuck at it, went up a weight, and look what he's gone on to achieve. I mean, obviously his last fight was up against Kakachi, who's a very, very good fighter. Obviously beat my man Sam Bowen for the British on a split, and so obviously he's coming off a loss. I mean, Josh, they both had better days, and they'll agree with you on that. I mean, they're both getting on a bit, but it's sold. It's sold out. It's a great fight. They've promoted it very, very well. Um, it's an hard one to pick. I mean, Warrington's great work rate. Um, Leewood's got the power. You know what I mean? If he connects, he'll probably put Josh out again. But if he don't connect, then Josh could outwork him and beat him on points. It's an hard one again, but I'm going to back my man Lee Wood. I think he'll have a bit between his teeth. He got the Nottingham crowd behind him. You know what I mean? They'll be pushing him all the way, and a similar outcome could happen. But I'm going for Leon points this time.
Yeah, we look forward to another great fight night. Me and Jamie previewing that more nearer the time. Carl, I really do appreciate your time. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for being on the Let's Stop Boxing podcast. I'd give you the opportunity to give the sponsor on your cap a shout out as well. I think that's a really good.
Yeah, reverse Rett. It's the Rett syndrome. I mean, my press officer David Wainwright, his daughter Georgia, she suffers with obviously the disease and the syndrome, and it's very very sad. So I do my bit for him, an ambassador for the charity. I'm always trying to raise awareness and raise money. And obviously, this is the cap that I wear when I can on obviously interviews and that to just like I say raise awareness and get it out there. And yeah, we're doing all we can for it. I mean, it's so sad. She's a lovely, lovely girl, and yeah, I mean, I do my bit, and I know that David really appreciates what myself and all the lads and all the fighters at Carl Greaves Promotions do for him.
Yeah, very, very good words. We do send our best wishes from SimBoxx from the Let's Stop Boxing podcast to the girl in question and wishing her the very
Yeah,
best with such a difficult disease.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your time today, Carl.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, lads. Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
Carl. Top man.
Take care. Nice one, Jamie. Thank you, mate.
So, Jamie, another week, another cracking guest, man. Carl's a great guy, really,
Yeah,
really good boxing, honest boxing brain, and it always it feels like when we come off the special guest and we go back to just us two, we find ourselves blowing smoke up the backsides, and we certainly don't do that. But real recognises real, and Carl Greaves
yeah,
in
yeah.
boxing
That's
terms is as real as it gets.
Yeah, 100%. And they're the people for me. That's what makes boxing the livelihood of boxing. You know, they're the lifeblood of it. Like you said, a real honest man, real boxing man. Spade to spade, talks proper, and it's good to be around people like that. And yeah, he's a top guy, top fella.
Absolutely, but the pod must go on, and we'll go back to last Saturday in Liverpool. I thought it was a really good card, really entertaining card. Brad Strand and Carl brought up there that the differences in the size. Jack Turner as well. He looked much bigger than his opponent, but we can only take the fights for what they were. Good night, right up until the main event, and the main event didn't quite go the way we expected. We'll start there. Nick Ball losing his WBA Featherweight World Title via 12th round knockout to Brandon Figueroa. The heartbreaker broke the hearts of thousands of Scousers that night. Impressive and brutal in the same sense there, Jamie, won it in that final round.
Very impressive, brutal, yeah, brutal. Feel for Nick Ball. Um, I feel more for Nick Ball because he, from the round 1 to round 12, or however long he's in the fight, he puts everything into his shots, and he's a massive entertainer. He puts it all on the line, and unfortunately, when you put it all on the line the way he does, sometimes you can get clipped, and he got clipped bad. But I'm not going to take anything away from Brandon Figueroa because he was winning the fight going into that 12th round. I just feel that this was one of them fights where even though Nick Ball has fought people obviously a lot taller than him in his entire career, the only two times he's struggled has been against is it Ray Vargas? Was he called? Is it Ray Vargas? Yeah, and obviously Brandon Figueroa, and they've both been long range fighters. But the weird thing was Brandon fought up close and personal, and he didn't really use his size or his reach to his advantage in any way, shape, or form. He sort of fought like the inside fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing, you kind of think Nick's going to get on his chest and work away. And he's much more than a brawler, is Nick Ball. It's an easy tag to throw at him. And I know a few of the American fans watching was throwing that tag there that he's just a brawler, but very reckless. But he's not. He's a very, very good boxer. But he was getting outboxed at times, and it was maybe overwhelming. He was landing some good pot shots and single shots. But the work rate, we knew it coming in, and Brandon Figueroa in his last fight threw over 1,000 punches. I'm not sure what he threw on Saturday night, but the work rate is what was winning him them rounds. And as you say, going into that final round, he was ahead. I think one judge had it 5 rounds to Nick Ball, which I just couldn't see myself. Do you think Brandon Figueroa went out there thinking that he needed a stoppage in that 12th round, that he wasn't going to rest on his laurels, that maybe if it was back home in Texas and it was a home show, he might have felt a bit more comfortable, and that he had to go and snatch it away from the champion, given it was in the champion's backyard?
Yeah, I think they would have come in with the preconception we're going to have to get a knock in their backyard, and I think they mentioned, didn't they, after the fight, that there was stuff that they were up against, especially with the weigh-ins and the issues with the hand
Yeah,
wraps and all stuff like that.
I've never heard anything like that, man. Not to cut you off, but it's saying that he wasn't a member of Brandon Figueroa's team there. They said that he wasn't in the arena. They got on with it anyway, and they had the stewards and the representatives of the WBA and the British Boxing Board of Control, I'm sure, was there. But I don't
Yeah,
think I've ever heard of a member of the opposing team not being in the changing rooms to see the hand.
no,
It's such a high level fight as well.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying, and I think they've gone that's why the preconceptions had to be we've got to go for the knockout, because they're looking at it going, well, that's a bit dodgy. So we're already got the cards are already stacked against us. So, but I don't think going into that round, I wouldn't have said, because Figueroa never sat on his punches that entire fight. I think where he gets his volume is from a lot of them being from the arm, as opposed to whipping them from the hip. Obviously, when the opportunity is there, he would throw the shot. But a lot of it was just keep him busy, really. And I don't think they've gone, right, you need a knockout, you need a knockout. I don't feel that because I think watching it live, you could see going into that 12th round that Figueroa was up on the cards. We didn't know what the cards were, but if you were of any sane boxing mind, you knew that Figueroa was winning that fight. But for them to get the knockout, I think that's where I can't see that they've gone, right, last round knock him out, because the way they celebrated the win, it was more like, yes, like, come on, we've done it. Like, it looked like they were more surprised that he got the knockout in the 12th round. But I think they probably thought, you've walked it. Because the first 6 rounds, you wouldn't have said that. But from round 7 onwards, it just became a lot easier for Figueroa as each round went on.
Definitely. Let's get into it there in the 12th round. So he lands that counter left up. He leaves Nick Ball sprawled face first on the canvas. You know, for that split second, you know, when you see these punches land, Deontay Wilder, a guy we've mentioned a couple of times on today's pod, he's done it before with Artur Spiltzker and with Luis Ortiz when he's was it Brazil, Dominic Brazil? Yeah, he sparked him, and when they stay prone on the floor, you kind of like your heart's in your mouth. You kind of appreciate it in a spectacular knockout, but then straight away you're thinking, you know, I want to know this fighter's all right. And Nick Ball, when he was face first on the canvas, he got up, he beat the count somehow, and then he was put away soundly, fell through the ropes, which again is another scary sight. That led to wild celebrations from Team Figueroa. Some of the, Manny Robles was in, he was hugging and celebrating, but then some of the other team members were really, I guess, over the top with their celebrations. You can't take it away from them. Their man was the huge underdog in the away corner in the backyard of the champion. He's won by 12th round knockout, but that caused a lot of controversy. We've seen Andrew Cain of Team Ball. He got in the ring. Lee Eaton was in the ring, and I think he was kind of asking, let's make sure Nick Ball is all right before, first and foremost. And I think that's everyone's first worry. Yeah, so as Team Figueroa are widely celebrating, which in a way they kind of expected to do, there has got to be that compassion and that willingness to realise the gravity of the situation. We didn't know what the state of Nick Ball was at that point, and then you see Lee Eaton running. He's trying to tell him, calm down. We're administering oxygen, and Andrew Cain, who we've said on this podcast before now, seems like a right handful, and he's part of Nick Ball's stable. I dare say he's a good friend of Nick Ball's. He's straight over there. There's a bit of a melee, and then next minute there's drinks and there's cups and there's everything being chucked into the ring. Quite ugly scenes, and it overshadowed what was a great win for Brandon Figueroa. But I think there's right and wrong on both sides with the conduct right after that final bell.
It's it was kind of a distasteful moment in the event. Kind of put a dampener on it, and I think you're kind of right in the fact that there was sort of both wrongs. Maybe Figueroa's team maybe celebrated a bit too wildly, but listening to him and the reasons that they celebrated the way they did was because they felt everything was stacked against them and X, Y, and Z with the raps and all that stuff. So I don't think it was a case of them trying to do it. They probably just didn't realise how bad the gravity of the situation was with Nick Ball. But I definitely doesn't excuse Andrew Cain and the team for running over and trying to kick out at him. And I just didn't think it didn't warrant that. You could have just gone over and been like, "Yo," like Lee Eaton was like, "Calm down." There was no need to start trying to kick him, and then it incited the crowd. And I think there was the crowd as well. What's the reason for throwing a load of beers at? Because it was only aimed at really Figueroa's team, and it was like they had, in the grand scheme of things, they've not done anything wrong really, apart from maybe over celebrate, and it might to some people feel a bit, oh, that's a bit distasteful. But it don't. What was more distasteful is then drowning them with beer and throwing things when you're not just affecting them, you're affecting all the cameramen around. They're just doing a job, and then they've got to go home covered in beer, stinking. It's not really warranted or needed, and yeah, it was a bit of a shame that it ended that way because it should have been. It was a great night of boxing.
Yeah, it was a great night of boxing. I just hope that, and I'm sure they will, that Liverpool will come together as a city and they'll put their arm around the boy in Nick Ball. I think at one point he was our only British world champion. He was 3 or 4 defenses of that title. He's been an active world champion, and this is his first defeat. So I'm sure the city will come around and put his arm around him, and he will be back. And Liverpool's a fighting city. I was down there on fight week. Didn't manage to speak to Nick Ball, but spoke to a few of the fighters on the card, and it's a city that loves the box, and I'm sure they will, as we would here in Manchester, come together and support the boy and support him on his comeback.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be anywhere near the end for Nick Ball. He's going to be in some big fights, and he's going to learn a lot from this. And if anything, he'll grow better as a fighter from it. And it's one of them. He could have a rematch, and it's a fight that he could probably win in a rematch as well. It's only a few minor adjustments because he had his moments in that fight, and he could certainly have the moments again in a second fight. So let's not write him off. And I think Liverpool's one thing about Liverpool you can't knock them for is they're very, very passionate about their own. Regardless of win, lose, or draw, they'll come out week in, week out. And I think there's nothing better than that if you're a boxer. And regardless if you win, lose, or draw, when you go back out and step out there, they're all going to sing your name and they're all going to buy your tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Liverpool boxing fans. One thing that I will say is I don't want to see anything of Nick Ball going up to super featherweight just yet. I think he's very solid at 126 pounds. I don't hear any talk of Naoya Inoue either. Let's respect Inoue for the pound for pound champion that he is. Nick Ball will need to rebuild, and I think we keep him right at featherweight. He's made a career of being the smaller man, but there's some big super featherweights on the scene at the minute, and I won't be rushing him up there just yet. Like you say, it's one defeat against a good opponent in Brandon Figueroa. No shame in that. And yeah, let's keep him at featherweight. Let's talk a little bit about Andrew Cain, and away from the controversy, arguably one of the performances of the year so far. And he was down twice in the 8th against Alejandro Gonzalez, looking like he was done for because, Jamie, as you well know, you can hide shots to the chin. You can pretend you're not hurt to the chin, but you do not hide them body shots. And boy, was he hurt in that 8th round. Turns it around in spectacular fashion in the 9th. Shout out to Andrew Cain, the boxer, and his performance that night.
Yeah, there's some doing to come back from that. And the thing was, if you watch it as well in the 8th round, like you said, you can't disguise being hurt to the body. And there was a moment just before he went down, hit him with that right hook, right just underneath his elbow. He caught him with it. And if you watch, Andrew's just like, oh, and he takes a little dip. And I was like, oh, he's hurt him there. Oh, he's hurt. And then he went and he dropped his arms. And we started, and I was like, yeah, and you could put the way he was leaning over, I was like, yeah, he's got him there. And then unfortunately, he got hit again, went down, got hit again when he got back up, and you could see he was in real bad pain. And do you know what? One thing is, he managed to get to the end of the round because it's a bit different to taking a headshot, whereas a minute might not give you enough time to recover from a headshot. He at least had a minute where he had to sit, and every breath in would have stung and stung, but as the time went on, it would eventually have done him the world of good, and it did because he came out. And to be fair, that jab that he stepped in with on the counter, which put him down, that absolutely rattled the brains of his opponent. And that Cain does what Cain does. If he hurts you even in the slightest little way, even if it's a jab putting you down, on you, absolutely rabid on you, blah, blah, blah. And he threw everything at him. And I was a little bit thingy when the ref stopped it, because I was kind of like, why? Like, he didn't look like he was, when he had got up, like he was like, oh, I need to. But I think obviously we don't know, because the ref was obviously speaking to him and he was completely ignoring him, walking away. So the ref's probably thinking, well, he's concussed here. We don't know what he's doing. So that could have been the reason for that. But what a stoppage, and what a turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Controversy sells as well. So with Cain, he's going to have that notoriety. You know, whether you love or hate what he done in the ring after Nick Ball's fight, with a performance like that, a win like that, then the controversy, his name being on the lips of every boxing fan, every media guy. Andrew Cain now is going to be must see in his next fight with that performance, with that notoriety. You know, I'm all for it, and he's quickly become one of our most viewed videos here on SimBoxx as well. After that, so yeah, notoriety certainly, and controversy definitely sells, man.
It certainly does, and he'll certainly be in some more controversial moments. Andrew Cain, I just think he's just about that life, isn't he? Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Good win for Jack Turner on the card as well. So yeah, a good night of boxing, and it certainly leads to some big opportunities later in the year for hopefully another big show in Liverpool. Jamie, before we clear off, before we scatter, as we always do, we tend to look at some of the latest goings on in boxing. One subject I'm going to mention briefly, because there's not a lot of boxing action coming up, and there is a fight over in the States that's worth watching. Might be worth doing a pod on at some point as well. Is Zuffa Boxing. We've not really mentioned those guys. They've had two cards already. One not so good, the other very entertaining. Dana White's venture into boxing, it's caused a lot of controversy in its own right. This weekend we've got Charles Martin against F.A. Jagba, two decent enough names in the heavyweight division. They're going to go at it on the Sunday, and with the lack of action here on the domestic front, that's certainly a fight I'm going to keep an eye on. And like I say, I think in a future podcast we can look at talking about Zuffa a little bit more, because they're going to be here to stay, aren't they, with the money behind them.
Yeah, every time someone mentions Charles Martin, all I just think of, I walk this roof like a god. I just cracks me up every time, and do you know what? He'll always be relevant just for that comment. But no, he's a decent name. Do you know, he has obviously, apart from that loss to AJ, he's actually picked up a couple of decent wins against credible opponents. So he's no mug. And I think that's a nice fight for both of them. Jagba needs to get going again. And I think it's a winnable fight for a Jagba, but don't write Charles Martin off, because as he has lost some fights, he's also picked up some credible wins. So it could be one. There could be a shock in there. I definitely want Arba tuning into, because at the end of the day, it's heavyweight boxing as well, and one punch changes anything. And you could walk in, and well, talk about walking in, he could walk in like a god, one left and put a Jagba away, and we're all going, whoa, it sounds mine. So yeah, definitely be keeping my eyes on it, and I think it's a weird one with Super Boxing, because it's sort of flown under the radar as well, haven't they? Would you say, like, the shows in terms of
Still feel like they
not
need that
massively where
breakout
everyone's going,
moment,
oh,
aren't
Super
they?
Box.
They're still waiting for that breakout moment where
Yeah. And
did you see that on Saturday? It's kind of like, oh, this was on as well. It's not been the mainstay, the first name. Or we've had the matchroom card with Andy Cruz and Raymond Murataya, and then the other cards have overshadowed it. Whereas this weekend they might get a bit more exposure with not too much else on the boxing,
Yeah, that's
boxing
it.
landscape.
And I think that's probably what, if I'm Zuffa, probably that's what I'd have to look at, is what the boxing schedule is like. And obviously, it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh, do it on weekends where there's no other shows, because that logistically might not be possible. But that's probably where Zuffa are going to have to maybe sort of look at and venture into, is finding the dates where they're not overshadowed by the DAZNs, and the Sky Sports and the Netflixes, where they can have their moments to shine. But I think one thing that they've done clever is obviously signed Jai Opetaia. I think that's a good belting signing for him. It's a bit of a statement signing as well. I think that shows the intent of where they want to go with it, and it's not just a gimmick from them. And one thing I'll give to Zuffa, we'll see how they operate. They know how to put, well, not Zuffa themselves, but Dana White and the UFC know how to put on a show. And like you mentioned, the last one was good. It was a belting, everything, the way that it was all set up. So one thing they'll do is put on some great shows. Whether they're great in terms of the fighters themselves is there to be seen, but in terms of the promotion, they certainly do know how to throw a card together.
Yeah, we look forward to see what comes from Zuffa Boxing. Yes, I'll take this opportunity to plug my latest interview. Just before we cut off, Jamie, I interviewed Junior Fa, the New Zealand heavyweight boxing contender, newly retired. I come to learn on the interview. Great chat, really, really good guy. Long format as well, so I'm going to release it alongside the podcast on Spotify. It's already on YouTube for our viewers, our listeners. If you want to go and check that out, I really, really implore you to go and do so, because it's a fascinating story about his time on Riyadh season, his time sparring Anthony Joshua in the amateur days and Joe Joyce, and being in the mix in Sheffield, and then his rivalry with Joseph Parker that transcended from amateur to pro boxing, and everything in between. Really, really fascinating chat. So I implore you to go and check that out. But that leads me to the end of episode 16 of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. I appreciate all the listeners, all the viewers. If you can leave us a review on whichever platform you decide to consume our content on, it'd be much appreciated. He's been Jamie, I've been Luke, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.